Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brain MMA Podcast, episode 28. I'm your host, BigSteve. I got old mate ScrapCapper back for the dream team. Feels like an eternity. A few things. How are you, mate? Let me just ask you how you are.
Oh yeah, good mate. Same old.
Same old, living the dream. Few housekeeping things. We'll do a quick recap of the last UFC. I'm pretty sure my best bet, I didn't have many bets when we did it. My best bet at the time was the under 1.5 Costa. I didn't even tape it. After tape, I just wrote it on the comments, and that ended up hitting quite nicely. Didn't have much. I think at the time I only had Ronson and Santos. I think I picked Santos potentially as my second favorite bet. We talked about go the distance there. I'm really happy I didn't play that just because of the way Santos fights. Other than that, I passed on all the things I said. The plus money on the Julia under, the under 2.5 on the Ronson. That's all because I just had a big night and slept in. I like to bet on the day, but I got no one to blame but myself. But yeah, just under a unit profit. I had a really small card in terms of betting by my standards. I actually had more bets on Bellator. The Gibson under 1.5 hit as well, which was my other favorite bet of the weekend. How did you go, mate?
I think I ended up with a small loss last week. I ended up probably having too much on Mackenzie Dern. I rode my early lines that I got where I probably should have hedged some off, if I'm honest. I can't even remember what I said was my favourite bet for last week.
Yeah, I remember we like going the distance in the Castaneda.
Oh yeah, that was a terrible bet. Castaneda nearly killed him in the first round, and then he got killed in the second round. So obviously that was a big miss on that one. I hit that under 1.5 on the Guido fight like you. Lost on Stolyarenko, no scorecards. That was a bummer. Just getting wiped out like that. Did well on the overs and GTD and the Latifi fight. Obviously lost the Castaneda GTD. Lost the Linz fight, which was a real bummer. I was looking forward to that one. Had that small bet on Slava, which, didn't really have any value in hindsight. And then on Friday, I ended up hitting overs in the Barcelos and Randy Brown fights, which both hit. But then, I think my night was kind of riding on that main event, and obviously Dern dropped the ball again. Still hasn't learned how to wrestle or strike, which is disappointing. Personally, I thought it should have been a draw, but hey, probably still not good bets, even at the opening lines I got. So yeah, happy to leave that card in the past.
That's right, man. Everything's in the past. Win or lose. So you're only as good as your last card, which is the good and the bad thing with gambling. But no, let's move on to something else. We've got some news. So I don't know if people know about elbow bets. So elbow bets is a little, I don't know what to call it, like a little corporation thing they started. It's just got a few best cappers on there, and they give a few people that sign up their best bets. So old mate ScrapCapper is part of it. So I know he's got a lot of fans on this podcast. They want to tune into what he has to say. So if you want his bets every week, plus another, I think there was 10, but now there's eight cappers. They literally, you sign up and they just give you your favorite bets every weekend. So that's about 10 favorite bets, and you can just choose which ones you want to play. I don't know, I'm familiar with about 90% of those cappers. I mean, I can't vouch for every single one of them, but I know for a fact that they're all long-term profitable. So, and I've got a little affiliate link with them. So if you want to sign up and save about 10%, just use my promo code BigSteve. And old mate Scrap has a promo code as well. You can plug it in at the end. You just get a discount, and you get those cappers. You can go on the website Elbow Bets, and you just get their favorite bets every single week. So not all their bets, just their favorite. So if it's anything like our podcast, where our top 2 bets pretty much hit every single week, whether it's Bellator, whether it's UFC, between us two, then you're getting some good value there. So BigSteve promo code, you get a bit of a discount. I'm not part of it, but you would just get all my bets for free. So I'm pretty sure Scrap is not going to give his best bets at the end of the podcast. Wouldn't make any sense, but he's still going to break everything down, go into detail. So go on there, suss it out, see if you like it, and use the promo code, get a bit of a discount. But let's look at these comments. Rob Lawrence, thank you, mate. In before the podcast even started. Sean Orr, the man, the myth, the legend, doesn't even start on time. We'll do whatever we want, mate. We don't have to start on time. Sickening, whatever. At least we got someone talking shit. Herb Dean, old mate, man to the moon. Don't know if I agree. We'll get to that. Sean Orr just keeps on going. You got saved from losing money on Lindsay. I kind of agree there. We won't get into that. So Scrap going to give us his worst bets. Oh, he does that every week, mate. We'll just we'll continue the trend. So I'll get us started on these first two fights. So this is pretty much the people's main event right off the bat, which is beautiful. Michael Jackson versus Pete Rodriguez. Don't really want to talk too much about this. Pete Rodriguez, an unproven fighter with the most insane odds, pretty similar to the odds that he had against Barry. Barry was probably a better striker in terms of, I don't know, he's just more proven, UAE Warriors, etc., etc. He's had fights on the good regionals. Pete Rodriguez has just run through about 3 cans professionally, and he's had some adversity in the amateurs. But, I mean, Pete Rodriguez, he's got heavy hands. His boxing's actually decent. The punishment that he took from Jack De La Mania showed me that he's got a bit of a decent Mexican chin as well. Like, we've seen people like Emil just shoot straight away after Jack De La puts on the pressure on him. So, I don't know. The only play you can have here is I found the under at -200 when I told you and some of the boys in Discord. As soon as I played about 0.6 of a unit, it dropped down to $1.40 again. So obviously that was the only book that still had it at that. Even then, I'm kind of like, do I want to play that? I've got cold feet because taping Jackson, he's such a weasel. He's got hands low and he gets hurt in a lot of his fights. He got hurt in his Muay Thai fight against Holloway. He got obviously cracked ASAP by Mickey Gall, who does throw hard, even though he's a jobber. And I mean, he got cracked by Barry, but Barry was very aggressive. But he was still there. He gets hurt, but he's got a lot of head movement and he just looks to survive. And he was throwing back and he was composed. So I got this little sneaky suspicion that because Jackson is so relaxed, he can survive. You need to put him out cold, right, or submit him like the way Gal did. So I don't know. I feel like the difference in skill could be quite decent. That Pete Rodriguez can run through him. I mean, he's 37. He's an absolute part-time fighter. And Pete Rodriguez, his hands are good and he's heavy-handed. So ideally, I probably would have just played Rodriguez by round 1 KO because I don't think we see another DQ. I don't see how Mike Jackson finishes Rodriguez. He's got absolutely no power whatsoever. Couldn't even finish CM Punk. So yeah, if you're going to play something, play Rodriguez by KO early. Otherwise, I'm having cold feet about my under. I don't even have a unit on it. What are your takes?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Like, neither guy is great. Like, Pete, like you said, it's unproven. He's just run through a bunch of cans. But for me, I kind of consider Mike Jackson a can. He hasn't done anything to convince me that he's not, or he shouldn't be viewed as a can. So yeah, I'm on that under 1.5 as well. I got a little bit at -210. Yeah, Pete's reliable to like come out hard and go for it early. And Mike Jackson's only getting older, and yeah, definitely not a serious full-time fighter, as you say. So I'm happy with that price because I think, yeah, Pete's going to come out and put it on him. And I think Jackson, yeah, probably a bit fragile, old. I don't think he really wants to be in there if he gets hit hard. So, yeah, happy to pay some juice for the under.
Yep, it's probably going to, in hindsight, look like an amazing bet. Just hopefully Pete comes out there as aggressive as usually is. And he works the body as well, so if Mike is doing his little tall man thing, he can just absolutely piece him up. So let's move on. Next fight, we got CJ Vergara versus Tetsuro Taira. So I got an early line on CJ about $3.25. It's a bit like ever since that I taped it and I played it, I'm going back and forth between it's got value or he's just going to get backpacked or submitted. So there isn't much value and I can't decide. But I think ultimately I'm going to let it ride and maybe hedge a little bit. So I only lose like a quarter unit or something because he's the perfect dog. You know, he fights for your money, CJ. He's got power. He's got a good check hook. He's a bit hittable, but he's very durable. He's going to fight for your money. He does have a rear naked choke loss in the first ASAP on LFA against Miller, which I think what's driving this line to such a big difference. But I think that's just that was on the short notice. That was up at bantamweight. I do think he's improved quite a bit since then. He does seem to have strong hips. He's, when people try to take him down, he's constantly reversing them. He's exploding out. The only thing is he does give up his back a lot. And yes, I know I've seen, it's kind of like an echo chamber on Twitter currently. It's just, they're all talking about how he gives up his back a lot and how, he's been submitted in round 1 in LFA. And, I'm just trying to look past that. If he doesn't get submitted, if he doesn't get taken down ASAP, Tatsuro Taira, his striking is also serviceable. When he chooses to strike, he's got some nice counters. He's a bit low output and he waits for his shots. He can be hit as well, especially against aggressive people, which CJ is. But yeah, he couldn't get any takedowns against Candelario. I contemplated playing Candelario. In the end, I passed. The reason I wanted to play him is because I knew for a fact Candelario was going to survive. I've seen him against black belts before. I thought, maybe we'll get taken down. He didn't get taken down in any of the first round, and then in round 2 he ended up on the ground because he got dropped. That's the thing. I think CJ is more dangerous on the feet, but he's a bit worse on the ground than Candelario. But I think he also has better takedown defense than Candelario, but he does give up his back. So there's a lot of things that are baked into this underdog line. Like, he's a big underdog for a reason, and those are at least we know what the glaring holes are. But if he gets back for one round and doesn't get finished, he's getting up, he's going to pressure. Taira did pass his first test, first time in America against a good guy that wasn't a Japanese can, and his first fight in UFC, so he did pass that test. It looked good in moments. But, this is another test again. This is a guy that's actually hits hard, and he's got KO power for flyweight, especially if he gets the knees. I can see him, every time he gets taken down, and if he gets up and he doesn't get submitted, I can see him exiting the clinch with those really good clinch knees that he has in the body. Bruno Correa, he finished him with a knee to the liver, but he slowed down Ode with him. He slowed down Clayton with him. I bet Clayton there. CJ live. I didn't really have the balls to do it pre-bet, but 2 minutes in, you could see the Clayton slowing down. So it's at the moment I have half a unit on. I think I'm just going to leave it. It gets submitted. I'll hedge it with Taira or something, just a little bit, just so I win just under a unit and I just lose just under half a unit. But everything is there. Everything is there for the dog to fight for your money, and he's got the power and he's got the grit. He's got everything. So at the moment, half a unit on CJ at a better line, 3.25. And that's pretty much it. What are your takes on the fight?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I like CJ, I've bet him in all his fights, including the Contender Series one. Thought he was pretty unlucky not to get the win against Ode. Kind of just got land parade in the third there. And yeah, good win versus Clayton. I see some people saying he was a bit lucky to get that decision, and yeah, I'd agree it was close, but I don't think it was lucky. I think he was a deserving winner there. In terms of this matchup, yeah, Taira, he looked good in his debut, I think it was a nice improvement from his regional tape, and he kind of answered some questions, but he's still got a lot of holes. His striking looks better, but it's still just a lot of single shots. The single shots were nice though. He dropped Candelario with some right hands, showed some decent kicking, especially with his right leg. But I think the open stance there kind of really worked in his favor because it allowed him to shoot that right hand down the middle and kick into the open side. His takedowns still don't look very good. Physicality still seems to be a thing, even though he was quite a bit bigger than Candelario. Candelario was the one hitting takedowns on him throughout the fight. Taira, I don't think really scored a clean takedown until the third when Candelario decided he was going to jump the gilly. He got stuck on the bottom a few times against Candelario and had a pretty hard time trying to make his way off the bottom. So yeah, this fight pretty much just comes down to the back takes. CJ will pressure forward on the feet and beat him up. Standing, I'm pretty confident Taira will probably get some leg kicks off and maybe he'll land the odd right hand, but he just doesn't strike in combination. And CJ is happy to walk through those single shots like he did versus Clayton. So yeah, I think CJ will be pretty comfortable minute winner standing. I like his pressure. I like how he mixes it up. he'll come forward, he'll back guys to the fence, and then he doesn't rush. Once he gets guys on the fence, he's pretty patient. He'll feint, and he'll just look to pick his shots along the fence. Yeah, the only issue is that, he can be a bit easy to take down. I like his get-ups. He can get up, against the cage. He knows how to, work to guard, get feet on the hips and kick away, and get up when he's out in open space. But Taira is obviously a really good back taker. So that's pretty much what it's going to come down to, right? The whole fight just hinges on, is Taira going to get the back takes, and is he going to do enough with them to win the fight? It's a clear dog or pass spot for me. I'm just waiting at the moment because on fight day last time, Taira took some pretty big action on fight day. So I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens here, because I'd be happy to play CJ at plus 200 or better. So I'm just waiting at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. Definitely a dog or pass. You can't be laying this juice on Taira, because you will be absolutely sweating up until the point where he's able to get the back take and stuff, because I don't even think he can put CJ on his back and hold him down, to be honest. He's almost entirely back take reliant, I think, and his physicality, takedowns, defensive tendencies on the feet leave a lot to be desired. Candelario was a good fight for him because Candelario was willing to entertain and initiate the grappling. CJ might here because he did against Cladeson, but going into this matchup, you'd hope that he's, coming with a bit more of a game plan and IQ to sort of anti-grapple, not really entertain much grappling. But fighters are going to be fighters, so you never know. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, we seem to agree. I'll just add, most of Taira's takedowns are body locks. He muscles people down, and it's probably why he struggled with Candelario, and it's going to be hard to get CJ down with a body lock. And if he engages in that body lock, he's going to open himself up to the knees, right? So they're both clinchy, and the knees are there. So you don't want to... It seems like I'm overrating him a bit, but no, that's literally CJ's best weapon. He's knocked people out. He's drained them of their cardio. He's hurt him to the body. He hurt Ode. He hurt Clayton. He knocked out Bruno. You don't want to be clinching with him. And Taira has to get in the clinch to get his body lock. So we're on the same page. The only thing I maybe disagree is I don't think the line's going to get better on CJ. I think people are catching on, and now the money seems to be coming on a bit on CJ. I think they were coming on early because they were parlaying him 2 weeks away. They're like, we're going to parlay him now. But now I'm seeing, money come in a little bit on, the odds are getting a bit worse on CJ. Who knows? Maybe right before the event, it does go the other way again. Casual money does tend to come in, but essentially on the same page, mate. So let's move on. Next fight on the card, Piero Rodriguez versus Sampage Hughes. I think we've both got some opinions on this one, so I'll let you take this one off. Piero Rodriguez essentially been minus 200 or better in her last LFA contender series. And now this fight, I think she was a slight favorite against Kay. Didn't finish any of those ladies other than the LFA one in the guard puller in round 4, I think. And Sam Hughes was on a bit of a losing streak, and now she's turned it around, potentially against better fighters than Piero Rodriguez, in my opinion. What's your breakdown here?
Yeah, so it was an interesting fight. It's one of those ones where, when I first saw the line, I just didn't question it too much, and then you kind of said, I like Sam Hughes, this feels wide, and, I was just not super onto it, had a bit of a busy week, didn't get around to taping it until just before, and yeah, man, I totally agree. After tape, I'm just like, why is she, a minus 180, opened as a minus 200 favorite? It just made no sense at all. Piera is a really green fighter, and she's just kind of, when you watch her fight, you just don't really know what her game plan is or what she's trying to do. She just kind of goes in there and kind of out scrap skills wherever the fight happens to take place. She's not really super insistent about taking a fight to a certain area and trying to do certain things. I just don't know what her A game is. I thought the K fight was a pretty underwhelming performance. That was basically just K dropping the ball, as she always does. Piera lost round 1, giving up the takedown in the top time. I thought round 2 was pretty much up for grabs. Maybe K was winning, and then last minute she gets pushed up on the cage, does that stupid thing that I don't know why fighters do, where they flamingo themselves up on one leg, so you got to try and balance yourself on one leg, and gave Piera an easy takedown, which kind of stole her the round. And then round 3, Kay was just a bit tired, and also lacks any real process, and just got a bit outstruck and gave up some takedowns and stuff there as well, and lost the fight. To be honest, that was more just Kay being green, lacking process, and probably a bit of a physicality and size gap more than anything impressive that Piera did to win the fight. I mean, we saw in a Contender Series fight that she's really not all that she's been hyped up to be. And I like Hughes in the spot. She seems to kind of have found her groove with Fortis. She's kind of leaning into this identity of being like a grindy pace fighter who kind of strikes to back people up to the cage and then goes to work there with the takedowns and works people on top. She's had success with that her last 2 fights. And yeah, I think Elise Reed and Estela Nunez, while they're fresh, are both better strikers than Piera. Piera's maybe a bit probably more physical than both of them, and maybe her wrestling's a little bit better. But man, I saw some horrible holes in her wrestling against Kay. Not knowing what to do in basic positions, basically. Not understanding the basics, and if Kay was maybe a bit more physical and had a better cage wrestling game, I thought she would have got more takedowns there. She was just taking shots out in the open, which Piera was able to defend. Not what Hughes does. She's very deliberate about putting girls on the cage and then just grinding them there. Man, I think Hughes can compete everywhere, has the grappling upside, good cardio, probably the better cardio. I'd favor her. Piera's upside is winning a close striking decision, probably, or if Hughes somehow randomly ends up on bottom. But again, she's way better than Kay in that regard. She's not going to go chasing stupid submissions and fall up and end up on bottom and play guard and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I could make an argument for Sam Hughes to be a favorite here, like comfortably. A small one, but a favorite nonetheless. So yeah, I like her money line. Decision props have just dropped, so wait for that to open up more widely. And it's one of those fights where I'd probably, 75% on the stake, on the money line, 25% on the decision or round 3 and decision, if you can get that at a price which is not much different to the decision prop. But yeah, give me Sam Hughes to grind out another win here.
That's it, man. We agree. Honestly, I had the same feeling with you. I wasn't really rushing it because I was like, I know Sam Hughes has her weaknesses, and I lost a bit of money on Kay Hansen. Slight underdog. I was like, should I bet her? Should I not? But she's, Kay Hansen loves being on the bottom, and she's lost many times, getting out wrestled. The main thing this comes down to for me is, how does Rodriguez cover minus 200? She literally hasn't looked 200 in the last 3 fights, right? So if we go back, I know I mentioned in the intro, Svetlana Gotzik, she is a guard puller in LFA, 13-4, but very padded record. She kept cracking Rodriguez with the left hand. That's the only weapon she has. She wobbled her. So Rodriguez, yes, has nice striking. She likes to counter. She waits when she's patient. She waits when people come into the pocket, but she's stiff. She's stiff, and she gets hurt by everyone. She gets cracked. She was getting cracked by Machado in Contender Series. Again, massive favorite. Went to well, it says here unanimous. I remember that being a split decision, but I think it was a very close fight when they were reading out the decision. I honestly thought that was a split, unless Topology made a mistake. And then Kay Hansen, she was a slight favorite against Kay Hansen and lost the first round. And then second was close. She started wrestling, but like I said, if you're going to wrestle Kay, you're going to have an easy path to victory. And she likes to play the jiu-jitsu. She's strong and she's hard to hold down, which is why I can see this fight being close. Again, Sam's not that impressive in what she does. Most of her takedowns are clinch against the cage. She goes for trips, etc., etc. And I think she might struggle to get Piera down or hold her down. But I agree with what you said. She can compete everywhere. She can compete in the striking just because Rodriguez is hittable. She's got some nice straight punches. She started to get a read on Nunez, who's an absolute 10 times better Muay Thai striker than Rodriguez. She actually started to hit. She bit down and she started not just brawl with Nunez, but she started to pull counter a very good, explosive Muay Thai striker. And this was before Nunez got completely gassed. She was slowing down, but she completely gassed in round 3. Elise Reed, I catched the big there. I actually felt she should be the favorite there. This one, I don't know, maybe pick him. Maybe pick him just because Rodriguez has her, she's hard to take down. So I think Hughes might struggle. If Hughes is forced to strike with her for 3 rounds, it might be just a close back and forth with a bit of cage push. And I also think Rodriguez, I don't want to discount Rodriguez taking her down. We've seen, Loopy take her down. Not Loopy, pardon me. Lomi take her down a million times. She just kept getting thrown around. And also Pinheiro, but these are really good clinch. Loma can take down heaps of fighters. And I mean, Pinheiro is an absolute beast in terms of judo. She throws everyone. Everyone goes for a ride. But that's the thing here. I mean, if she gets a takedown against Rodriguez, Hughes will get up. Hughes will get up, and she's got confidence, and she can compete standing, and She has the better cardio. Rodriguez actually has slowed down. She slowed down against Kay as well. She slowed down bad against Machado from wrestling for 3 rounds. So just how does she cover? Does she wrestle? Does she have a competitive striking fight? I know she hits hard, but she's not knocking out Hughes. Hughes has taken an absolute beating from a lot of women. The one she's lost them 1-2. So yeah, it's just I might lose a close fight here, but it's 29-28 either way. I see some people saying they want to live bet it, but if Hughes wins round 1, that live bet's out the window because Hughes is going to win round 3 at a pretty high clip. So it's like you've lost on a pretty good underdog shot on a card that I don't think there's many spots. So we agree, man. We seem to agree on a lot here. So I'm going to play on Hughes. I assume you do too. I thought about round 3 decision, Hughes as well, just to lower but you said it's not much different to the money line, so that might be out the window there. But let's move on. Britto versus short notice Alexander. As far as I know, I think you haven't taped this fight and you passed on it in terms of having anything to say. I've just taped Alexander a bit, and he seems to get taken down very easily, and he's low, and his competition is very, very low. I mean, Kelburn was his best win, and he's losing to 5-3, 5-2 fighters, 2, 3, 4 years ago. So I don't have anything to add here. Are you happy with just moving on?
Yeah, literally haven't looked at this Alexander guy at all, and I assume Brito will open and be lined as a huge favourite, which is probably warranted. So yeah, nothing here for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's a betting podcast, so it's kind of not interesting talking about fights if we don't have lines. But we all know that it's going to be a massive, as it should be. He should be a massive favourite. All right, next fight. Nick Maximov, Jacob Malkoun. I went into this fight kind of thinking Maximov should be the favorite, and I was looking at a way to play him, mostly because he's the bigger. I think he's the better wrestler, stronger, etc., etc. He seems to have worse striking. I actually like Jacob Malkoun's boxing. He stood a lot more with Allen. He seems to have a nicer jab, better combinations. His boxing seems to be his backup. You see in the regionals and Australian regionals, he actually likes to strike. Whereas Maximov just throws one strike at a time, but he seems to have power. He cracked Puna, he cracked Brundage. It just seems like a much bigger guy. So I thought, if it's going to be a wrestling fight, Nick, two crotch sniffers. Nick likes to dive on the ankles, and he just goes to the back. And whereas Malkoun loves a single, and I've seen Malkoun struggle with takedowns early against everyone, including Al Hassan. Al Hassan got up about 3-4 times in round 1. So due to Jacob's lack of athleticism and physicality, he really struggles to hold people down early until they gas. I mean, Nick doesn't have that problem. Nick's fighting. I think Brundage and Puna have the same credentials in high school in terms of wrestling, and he doesn't have that. They're doing all they can to stop the takedown early, whereas Jacob's struggling against AJ, struggled against Razak. He didn't struggle against Allen as much, but me and you know this, and we've talked about it a lot. Allen has always had bad takedown defense, and he would rather go for a guillotine than actually stop a takedown. So it's a complete different scenario. Going for a takedown against Nick Maximov, he might end up on his back ASAP until Maximov gasses, but I don't think Maximov gasses that much either. So I was going into the tape thinking, okay, let's look how I can play Nick Maximov as a favorite here. But then by the end of it, I thought, you know what? Malkoun seems like a smart fighter. He stood a bit more against Allen. I feel like he's going to want to stand here because maybe he knows that his best chance here is in the boxing. I can't play Maximov. I've been fighting Maximov before for the reasons that he's a wet blanket. He has no output. He goes to close decisions because he just throws nothing on top. If he gets the fight that he wants against Malkoun, it's still going to, I don't know, I don't see much value. It's still going to turn into Malkoun's fight, at some point. And it's like, how can I cap Maximov as a decent favorite? And then I thought about it more, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like Malkoun here. Every time he stands up, he's actually going to box more. He's going to throw in combinations. The things that Malkoun and Soriano and Brundage should have done, throw a bit more ground and pound to steal rounds. I think Malkoun might do that, even though he doesn't throw much. But he just seems like a smart fighter, and this might be the fight that he doesn't wrestle. And then I checked the odds, and the odds got steamed, and now they're essentially almost a pick him. So I was like, okay, right as I take this fight, money comes in on him. So at the moment, it's a pass fight. It just seems like a very, you're guessing either way. Two guys that they're throwing no damage, and you don't know who's going to win. And it seems like a split decision. And if one guy doesn't doesn't want to grapple, the other guy will definitely go for it. I feel like Maximov will shoot for takedowns no matter who it is. I mean, Petrosky, Soriano, they're all wrestlers, and he's going to shoot. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care. Whereas Malkoun, I think he might want to stand up for a bit. If I'm going to play Malkoun, I'll probably play by decision. I think there's no value at these odds, but that's where I'm at the moment. It's dog or pass for me. Not interested in either line. It seems like a bit of a shit show fight, to be honest. What's your take?
Yeah, that's interesting. I agree with a lot of what you said, but I am on the other side. I've bet Maximov. I agree with like your takes about the fight, though. I think it is likely to be close. Obviously, two guys who kind of prefer to wrestle. Agree with what you said about the stand-up. Like Malkoun's probably got a bit better output. Throws in combination. The only thing that kind of gave me pause there was like his only real decent striking has come against Brendan Allen, who's just a punching bag. So Malkoun can put some combinations together, but I still just don't like his optics and stuff when he gets hit. He's very flinchy and sort of panics and backpedals out of the pocket really fast. You can tell he's not comfortable, like really getting hit in the pocket and riding the shot. So he does throw the better volume, but yeah, Maximov throws a bit of heat on his strikes. He's not a good striker in terms of putting together combinations, but he'll throw, one big kick, one big right hand. And to be honest, like, I don't think Malkoun's like any defensive genius. So I think if they're trading, chances are Maximov's got a good chance to like punctuate the exchanges with his one big shot. Since Malkoun doesn't really seem to have much pop in his hands, being, a pretty small, unathletic middleweight. The grappling's pretty interesting. Malkoun's mostly got him by, grappling against guys who just don't have an understanding of grappling, especially single legs against the cage. I'd assume Maximov does because he's a single leg merchant himself. So, yeah, I think I have to favor Maximov just because he's bigger. From what I can see with my eyes on the tape, he's had success wrestling better guys, bigger guys with like legit wrestling backgrounds, whereas Malkoun's, just wrestling gassy guys like Razak, Dobson, dudes who just can't wrestle and end up on bottom a lot, like Brendan Allen. So yeah, I mean, again, in betting Maximov, it's not the highest upside bet because it's pretty unlikely he finishes or like covers like a huge price. But at the same time, I think he hits a bit harder, is bigger, is probably a slightly better grappler. Malkoun seemed to get tired versus Allen as well and get stuck on the bottom. Again, he's just a smaller middleweight, so he has to work really hard to like get out of these bad positions. And I think if Maximov's just, on him like a blanket, like Malkoun is probably going to be the one who gasses out first just because he's going to have to work harder being the smaller guy. So, yeah, I bet Nick Maximov. I think there's a bit of value here. I would probably line him a little bit wider, but in saying that, he's not a guy who has the potential for like massive upside just because of his style. But all in all, I can't blame people taking a shot on Malkoun, especially when the money line was a bit wider because, this could certainly play out close in a lot of iterations. But, yeah, I just can't see Malkoun managing to keep it at distance long enough to like outstrike his way to a decision, and I think Maximov's going to get the better of the grappling.
Yeah, we agree that Maximov should be the favorite, but yeah, just no play for me. I just feel like all of Maximov's fights are always close, so probably minimal value for me. But good luck to you. All right, let's move on. Next fight, Rafael Assuncao versus Victor Henry. See in the echo chamber, a lot of people saying there's no way someone like Assuncao beats someone like Henry with his with such a massive volume difference. But I mean, back in Assuncao's prime, everyone's got a volume advantage, right? He's a really good counter striker. So I tried finding an avenue in which way this line is wide and in which way Assuncao can maybe upset him. Obviously, he does get taken down. Victor Henry. When I taped his career extensively when he was making his debut against Barcelos, he still got taken down in the first, but Barcelos kind of let him up, and then when he decided to wrestle, it was a bit too late. 2 fights ago, lost to Denis Latiev, that was a rematch, but that guy is an animal now. I think he's like 12-2.
Yep.
He's a beast, from what I can tell from his record. And I mean, he's been taken down before. He's had his back taken by by what's that guy on the regional? I mean, he got his back taken in Ryzen by Canara. Let me just find. Oh, Carla Phillips. Carla Phillips had his back in the first, and then he rallied back in the third. So that's, I mean, the fight against Barcelos, he doesn't usually fight that aggressively. I mean, on the regionals, he's always kind of starting out slow, getting taken down, getting backpacked a bit. But then when he starts to let his hands go, the absolute, the accuracy, the combinations, the pull counters, the ducking and weaving, he just puts it on fighters, and the volume and the accuracy just breaks him down. And I don't think he hits that hard, but I think he's a bit underrated. His power is a bit underrated. I know people say he's a volume guy and attrition knockout artist, but I've seen him drop people, hit people hard. So yeah, it's just, I try to find avenues. Assuncao takes him down. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. Or if he counters him a couple of times, I mean, Barcelos was countering the absolute crap out of Henry for 3 rounds, but Henry insane durability. Not once did he flinch, and he just kept coming forward. And then it threw me off. He made me want to play Trayvon Jones in Barcelos' last fight because Henry made him look chinny. And he's maybe his power's not that not that bad. He hurt him multiple times in round 1 when it wasn't due to volume. It was just accuracy. So maybe he can potentially knock out Assuncao here as well. I mean, I don't know I haven't got the props out yet. Maybe you can help me out. But whatever's paying better. Maybe decision. I would honestly be nervous if I was playing Henry decision, just because I don't even know if I'm saying the name right. Is it Assuncao, but he's just all of a sudden he's getting knocked out by everyone. He's always had a speed disadvantage and athleticism disadvantage, and I don't know if he's gonna have that much here because Henry's also not athletic himself. But he's just the chin seems to be gone, and if Henry turns it on, the only way I see this going to decision if Henry just comes out a bit more patient, like his regional seeing footage, and more interested in leg kicks and just jabbing up, and if he gets taken down here and there and he just decides not to do anything crazy against Assuncao so he doesn't get submitted, I can see it trickling into decision. But personally, I would just be brave and maybe hit Henry by KO if you want to play something. Yeah, I think Assuncao's best path to victory here is a split decision, right? And so it's hard to advocate a dog shot on him when that's his best way. I mean, he's had the split decision back in decision wins back in his prime, and now he's fighting a guy that's never been finished. So yes, not a hot take, but Henry he should win this, even if he doesn't have the best performance. It is a bit of I don't want to say it's a step up, but it's a ranked opponent. So yeah, I guess I can advocate for a parlay play here, but I don't know if I'll do it myself. I always try to stay on the cautious side. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, man, I agree with pretty much all of that. Like me, Assuncao, he was a good fighter, right? In his day, he was crafty, good at kind of drawing guys into these low volume fights. He was kind of like a Trinaldo, But for me now, 40-year-old bantamweight, with the way he's been losing lately, at a certain point you gotta just write a guy off as being probably shot or washed, and that's just what he is to me. Again, like you said, maybe he can somehow manufacture a split decision, but from what I've seen from Victor Henry, he's a guy that's going to be pretty hard to just lull into having a low volume split decision fight over 3 rounds. Even if he starts a bit slow, like you said, he always ramps it up, and tends to go for it. And then, we saw him hit a new level of that in the Barcelos fight. So, yeah, I struggle to see an avenue. In terms of the odds, Victor Henry KO is plus 185 at Bet Online. Inside the distance, plus 140. I just probably go inside the distance just because Henry does like to go for subs. Got a lot of subs on his record. And even with these old guys, right, even if they got really good jiu-jitsu like Assuncao does, they get to a certain point where they can just be club subs, And with Henry's willingness to go for the subs, he's pretty sharp with them. And just Assuncao's just old, man. I can see him getting club subbed. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So yeah, if I had to choose between decision and finish, I'd probably play Victor Henry to finish. Assuncao just shot to me, and Henry will go for it. Right, he's got some pop. He's got a good work rate. I think he can finish in multiple phases of the fight. But for me, I took a bit of his points handicap. It was -200 when I hit it at Bet Online. just because I think that's value. You know, I don't see Assuncao winning, you know, a round at better than a 30% clip in this fight. So yeah, I was happy to take that, and I don't have to sweat him finishing the fight.
Yep, makes sense. On the same page once again. It's just a shame that there's nothing to parlay him with on this card. Or maybe there is. Stay tuned. Next fight, I'll let you take the lead on these two. So first of the two is Mana Martinez versus Brandon Davis, pardon me. It's a tough one to get a read for me. It's a striking battle. I feel like these guys have a lot of similarities, especially if Martinez doesn't knock anyone out. They both have technical striking in and out. Both have weakness in physicality and explosiveness. Both like the leg kick and to be patient. I think Davis turns it on a bit more late. The only difference is Martinez hits a lot harder. And now Davis has obviously had an ACL surgery, which he was fighting without an ACL all of regionals and in his debut against Dana Baccarel. So you have to expect some improvement, right? Even though he's had surgery and rehab, it's going to be better than not having an ACL, right? So what do you think on this fight, mate?
Yeah, I mean, mate, let's say I'm taking the lead and then you rip off half my breakdown. I do agree. Like the early movement, you know, Davis taking a bit of action when he was around, like, you know, like opened around like a plus 160-ish or something like that, underdog. I think that was probably, I understand, you know, betting him there. I think that was probably a bit wider than it should have been because Mana hasn't really shown anything to warrant him being that big a favourite. Where it is right now, I'd say it's close enough to right. It's hard to say though, right? On the Davis side, like you said, second go around in the UFC, you know, had some close fights with good guys in his first go round, but I remember watching his regional fights before he came back to fight Dana, and he looked terrible in his regionals. It's one of those things that happens, you know, where guys get cut from the UFC, they just can never really seem to get back to that level. And to me, that kind of seems to be the case with Davis. His regional take was pretty poor, pretty underwhelming. He looks like his body's just kind of, he's doubted him already. You know, he was pretty outspoken about like the amount of road work he did and like how crazy sort of he had to get with his diet and S&C to get down to bantamweight. And I think that's just taken a toll on his body really. He doesn't seem trained like in the smartest way. Like he was just running like obscene amounts to get his weight down, and I think he's just kind of trashed his body a bit personally. And you can see now he's coming off an ACL surgery against Dana, and in his regional fights, his timing's not there. Like his reactions are very slow. Doesn't seem to pick up on shots. He was getting hit by fucking everything that Dana threw. You know, Dana's an explosive puncher, but at the same time, Brandon Davis just couldn't get out the way of anything. You know, he was on a you know, done ACL in that fight, but you know, at the end of the day, you watch Davis's eyes, and he just doesn't see the shots, regardless of whether he's got a bum knee or not. So I'm not really tempted with a dog shot here. Davis could have some grappling upside because Mana's a pretty miserable grappler, as we saw versus Ronnie Lawrence. But I just don't trust Davis to go for it enough, and he doesn't have like the speed and stuff to just like bundle Mana over off his feet. He's probably going to have to try push him on the cage and like drag him down and grind him out. On the Mana side, I think this guy is really bad. I don't like him at all as a prospect. He has no process. He just stands in there and like bobbles his head and hands around and just stares at guys. Against Guido, how he didn't finish him there was pretty abysmal and embarrassing. Like he pressures and walks guys to the cage and then just won't do anything. He'll just let them off the cage for free. Again, he's another fighter where I'm like, I'm not sure what your A game is because he's just used to guys standing in front of them and just bombing them out in the first round. So when that doesn't happen, he's just like, what the fuck do I do? He doesn't have any like ideas or like, you know, things that he can go to throughout the fight to make sure that he's consistently winning minutes and working towards a finish. Yeah, and he's been like massively exposed, I think, in his UFC run so far. I understand with him being lined a slight favorite just because youth, durability, got the more chances to show up looking randomly improved, although I think James Krause is a horrible fit for him gym-wise. I get that Krause will like try to give him more process and stuff, but I think that's going to take time. I don't think we're going to see him come out and magically look like a really nice process-driven fighter here. I think that's going to be take a long time, and to be honest, I'd probably encourage Mana just to steer into being like a puncher brawler type. So yeah, I don't like a side here. I've actually taken a bit of the over, minus like 135 ranges. Basically, I don't consider either of these guys to be like a very potent finisher, so I'd be surprised if this one finishes at like, more than 50%. So yeah, I like that over here because I think it'll be quite scary for long periods of time. The main concern is just Davis's durability randomly goes. Could happen, but he took a lot of shots before Dinar finally put him away. The other concern would be Davis maybe finishing Mana on the mat, but if Lawrence, had to put that amount on him, then Davis just, I don't see him doing that personally. So yeah, I understand a lot of people playing the under here just because wiki capping, Mana's supposedly, big hitter, dangerous guy, and all that sort of stuff, but I just don't see it for me. I think this one goes over at more like a 60-65% clip. So that's my bet for the fight. Sorry, that was very long-winded.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I wish I could say I agree and move on, but I've got a couple of things to add as well. I just, in that Dana fight, yes, I agree. It's not because of the ACL that it was constantly getting hit. I think it was just a massive speed and physicality advantage for Dana, right? That's what I meant in terms of they have the same disadvantages, and Mana does too. We've seen against Guido. Guido's 43, and you could see how much more athletic and explosive it was against Mana, and even Lawrence just dropping him, just getting quicker to the punch, and it's just Martinez. He's always been noodly, and they've got same similarities, and it's like, yes, Mana can knock out Davis, but it's not going to be as big of a speed difference as someone like Dana Baccarel, who's just, I think he's just a whole nother level. And then I could get in terms of the over-unders, I just can't touch him. I mean, I would rather play the under, but that's only because it's plus money, all right? Plus money, whereas I'm playing juice on the over, and yes, if Martinez is going to do it, I guess he can knock out Davis, but Davis is pretty durable, and that Dana KO was Herb then just kind of stepped in as he was standing up, so he wasn't even out cold. But yeah, it feels like it's accurate, but I can't. There's too many. This whole fight is just unpredictable, right? I don't know how he's going to look after his ACL. If Mana doesn't get a KO early, I don't like how he looks when he goes long. I think both guys can get takedowns. I think Davis can get more takedowns over Mana. Mana's just been reversed by Guido, and obviously Lawrence made him look horrendous, but that's Lawrence. I also got questions about his chin. I've never seen Lawrence do that to anyone with his striking. Obviously, we haven't seen Mana go out of the first round in a lot of his fights, so you can't. No one's really heard him. You can't see if he's got a bad chin or not. But he got busted up quite a bit by Guido. Again, his coach died in that fight. So there's just a lot of unknowns in this. I can't even the over under. It's an unknown to me. Maybe both guys finish. I think Davis has underrated jiu-jitsu, and I think Mana might have a bit of a weakness to jiu-jitsu as well, which you've seen on Contender. Like Davis has quite a good rear naked choke. It's just the whole. If I was forced to play at the moment, it's a pass for me. Every which way, it's a pass. I personally think the best bet here is just wait. Just wait for round one. I can't play Mana because if he can't get a KO, then he's not trustworthy at this line, especially if Davis looks better. Davis gets into the fight as well, so he starts off slow, but as rounds 2 and 3, then he starts to pick it up, throw some knees, throw some leg kicks. Maybe allow a bit Davis late. If he hasn't been knocked out, if he's looking good after the ACL surgery, then you're like, okay, then there's value. For a fact there's value. You bet Davis pre-fight, he looks horrendous, gets knocked out, then you lose your money. So I just think a live bet here will be good. Even though Mana carries power late, I think late Davis is going to look much better late. But who knows? We're just so much speculation here. So it's a pass for me at the moment.
Yeah, the props opened and I saw Davis decision plus 300. But I mean, if you're betting that, then you're probably counting on him having grappling success. And I agree, Mana's pretty sus on the mat, so I wouldn't even be surprised if Davis subbed him if he was having grappling success.
It's just, I just want to find out some more things about Mana. Almost every time I see Mana fight, it's something else that I didn't know about him, other than him constantly getting round 1 knockouts. And then he knocks out durable people like Tercios and whoever else is durable. I know Jose Johnson is it. And then he, he doesn't knock out not durable people like Guido Canetti. And it's weird. It's all over the place. Yeah. But let's move on again.
Ooh.
What's up?
Nah, people's main event.
Oh, there's so many of them on this card. It's unbelievable. Wish we saw more. I think Sean Orr is in here just to give us sound bites of what we're saying. All right, Misha Cirkunov, Alonzo Menifield. I don't think I'm going to cover everything in my short and sweet breakdown for you. Maybe I will, because there's not much to say personally. Misha moving back up. Alonzo Menifield still at 205. 2 flakes. 2 round 1 merchants. I think Alonzo a bit less of a round 1 merchant. But when he does get out of round 1, his fights are absolutely horrendous. What are your thoughts on this one, mate?
Yeah. Kind of a fight between 2 guys that you don't really want to be trusting with your money. But when one of them's like a reasonable underdog, I think that they've kind of become the value side by default. So yeah, toggle pass fight for me. In terms of how this one plays out, it's just so hard, right? Because I think it's probably going to look quite binary, right? Either Menifield cracks him in round 1, and Misha pulls a bit of a quit job like he does when he gets hit hard, or otherwise Misha's able to extend Alonzo out of round 1 where he gets tired, because he always does, and then is probably able to start, pushing him against the fence, clinching him, maybe able to eventually drag him down with some takedowns and go to work from top. So personally, I just don't understand how you could be laying minus 200 on Menifield here. That's just like absolute insanity, because I think a vast majority of his win equity is in like an early KO. The guy's a huge gasser, as we've seen. Obviously, Cirkunov, though, on the other hand, is very prone to getting KO'd in the first round, and like even getting submitted, as we saw in the Turban fight. But I like that Cirkunov's back up at 205. I thought 185 was a horrible move for him. Just depleted, so slow, stiff. Cardio takes a hit. Here, I think he is definitely the better grappler. I think he has the better cardio. He has the better process. His only weakness is that he's fragile and a bit mentally weak. Well, more than a bit, you could say. So pretty much, I think, round 1 will be horrifically sweaty. And then I think looking to get on Cirkunov live after round 1 is a good look. I bet him when the line opened. And in hindsight, I probably jumped the gun. I'll probably try to find a way to buy out of that if I can, because I'd rather live bet him than having exposure round 1, because when Alonzo's fresh, his takedown defense is actually pretty decent. He's got decent first layer, he's got strong hips, digs underhooks, that sort of stuff. But after 1 round, those big balloon muscles fill up with lactic acid, and he is considerably worse. And he actually starts trying to grapple himself because he wants to rest. He wants to push guys on the fence and have a rest. The only other weapon he's really integrated lately is the calf kick, which we saw versus Ed Hemmon, which probably isn't really going to be there against the southpaw in Cirkunov. Pretty easy way to play this is just pray Misha survives round 1, and then you can try get on for a live bet, because I think there's a good chance he's able to out-grapple Alonzo outside round 1. And even in the striking, although Misha's mentally pretty fragile and hates getting hit and looks for a way out when things get hard, his striking technique's way better than Alonzo. Alonzo's horrible. He just wings big wide shots with no setup. He just kind of expects to walk in there and just bomb on guys. Misha's striking technique is actually pretty clean. He can box, throw some nice shots in combination. Obviously just doesn't like being hit. But Alonzo's so low volume, doesn't set things up, gets tired really fast, and will probably start being happy to clinch with Misha once he's a bit tired. So look to live bet Misha is my opinion. No thoughts on the total, because going under is probably correlated with the Menifield finish. Going over is probably correlated with Cirkunov, probably looking a bit of value, I would assume. So I'd rather just wait till live bet Cirkunov.
What are your thoughts on the under at slight dog money, or pick him 1.5?
I can understand it. But I think you're probably relying on a Menifield KO, because I'm just not sure if Misha's going to be able to get Alonzo down when he's fresh. So again, it all kind of depends on what the difference is in pricing, but I might look at Menifield KO 1 instead of an under 1.5, or split stake between the two. But you know me, I hate betting unders, especially under 1.5s. And I'd kind of like there to be more of a... Misha could sub him early, don't get me wrong. He's done that to guys who are much better than Alonzo. But I'd probably prefer there to be a bit more of a finishing threat early on the Misha side if I was going to bet that under 1.5. But I totally understand the angle. If people think it's value, then I can see that. Yeah,
I mean, to me, that's the only play you can play. Honestly, he's just I've come around to it. I know. I think the only way this doesn't go under is if Alonso gets his fight, the fight that he tried to do against Herman, where he's constantly circling out, jabbing and calf kicking and running away. Yeah, I don't think you can play Alonso. You're an idiot if you play Alonso this line. It was similar line to William Knight, who's a much worse fighter than Misha Cirkunov, and he dropped the ball there. Misha Cirkunov, I mean, I want to say is the value side, but I also think it's like he's fighting his kryptonite here. The only thing is, I don't think Alonso is a one-punch KO striker like some of the opponents that Misha's fought. Right? He's heavy-handed for sure, but who is he? Just hit once and put him out cold, right? Like Ryan Spann hits way harder than him. Johnny Walker, one flying knee and that was it. Volkan. It's just he just plods forward and he hurts people. Like he hurt Herman. Couldn't put Herman out of there, but yes, Herman's very durable. He clubs people. Like he clubbed Devin Clark and then he couldn't finish him. He was clubbing Owen Prue, couldn't finish him, then got knocked out himself. William Knight. I mean, even Askar Morozov, he took him down, and then when he stood up for that split second when they were standing, it looked like Alonso was going to get KO'd. Like he's so flaky, he's just horrible. And Misha's striking is not that bad. It's always been good, decent. A lot of the times he drops people. He dropped Krylov, dropped him hard before he guillotined him. He's not afraid to throw. He's throwing a lot more against Turman. I do agree with you. He should definitely be up at light heavyweight. That looked like an insane cut. The guy's so shredded. I couldn't believe he actually made middleweight. And he also seemed to be gassy. But back in the day, I know it was a long, long time ago. I mean, he's got a round 3 submission over Kurlaba. He actually seemed like an animal, he seemed like he was. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's something to do with his wife when she got cancer and stuff, but he seems to be regressing. Like, he seems like a guy that could go 3 rounds and he was always dangerous. We get takedowns late to just not wanting to go to 3 rounds. Like, he's just capitulating. And then he has that performance against Jimmy Crute, and it's like, oh, maybe he is good. I don't know. It's tough to tell. It's just, he has performances like that, and then he gets armbarred by Turman. And you would think he would never get submitted because that's his, that's his strength. And then that armbar, like, what does that tell me? Is he mentally not there? Does he check out when going gets tough? It's just weird. It's just weird. I think the best way to play this is just to decide whether the 1.5 has value. I mean, if it's under 1.5, if it goes over 1.5, how does Misha win? Like, what I saw in the Turman fight is he absolutely gassed badly. Yes, that was at middleweight. When against Jotko, he was a bit better with his cardio, but again, Jotko did nothing to push him whatsoever. Maybe Alonso won either. But yeah, it's just how does he win if he goes over 1.5? It's just, I guess both won't do anything. If it goes over 1.5, you can bet all your money that Alonso's probably going to be clinching a lot, and that's probably going to put him in line to get taken down, swept, thrown, because he's an idiot. He clinches people that he shouldn't be clinching. Right? He just spent the whole fight clinching Devin Clark. Like, when he hurt him, like, why would you clinch? You lost the fight while clinching, and he had the good position, and he was losing while holding Clark against the cage. He was getting leg kicked in dominant position in clinch. That's how stupid he is. To me, I think I might play it because it comes down. Currently, it's 50-50. So this fight has a 50-50 chance to go over 1.5 or under 1.5, and it's like, I think it has to be favored, right? I think there's a small percentage that this goes over if Alonso just clinches up or doesn't come out aggressive and runs away a lot. But then Misha's going to push the pace. Misha wants the takedown. And more often than not, if Misha gets the takedown, he gets a round 1 sub, right? Even though Alonso has good, takedown defense, etc., etc. But he can get dropped. He can get, whatever. I think it should be like $1.60 favorite. Honestly, I think the reason it's a pick'em is because they think, there's a chance that Alonso goes over. But even Knight dropped Alonso. He dropped him and he mounted him. And yeah, he powered out of it, but he's going to just power out of it and stand up against Misha Cirkunov. Cirkunov's probably going to catch a choke on the way up in the scramble. I don't know. So I think there's a little bit of value in the under. It's fucking risky and scary, but whatever. I might just play a half a unit on it and then go from there. But bit of a shit show fight, honestly. Okay, I got to let you. Oh, actually, no, you did the last 2. Perfect. So next fight, we got Duško Todorovic, Jordan Wright. So I don't know if people know, but I'm Serbian. Duško was meant to be my great white hope for the UFC after a series of really bad fighters. Obviously, this was before Rakic and whatnot. He does have a lot of weaknesses, old mate. He does have a lot of weaknesses. I see the Twitter loves him. Twitter absolutely loves him, and they absolutely love the under 1.5, which I cannot even play yet, and I'm obviously not playing it because I hear it's worse than minus 200 now. So yeah, at the moment, I had a couple of units on Dushko just because he generally runs through these fighters, right? Every time he's been given a bum, and I kind of liked it. You know, you can tell when UFC likes someone. When he got Townsend, I was like, okay, UFC likes him. That's a good sign, right? They're giving him a bum in his debut. So I was like, okay, that's good. And even then I was sweating a little bit just because his main weakness is he's not physical. I think he can be a welterweight. He's not physical. His wrestling absolutely sucks. It's horrible. And at the moment, his best takedown is to give his neck, hope to go for it, and then get on top, right? He did that against Pitolo, got on top, finished him, and he did that against Chitty. And Chitty couldn't help but go for a das and ended up on bottom. So I think he goes, I need to get this fight to the ground. So he grabs onto someone, he gives his neck, people go for guillotines, and he really struggles to get anyone down. Robocop was throwing him around. He did good to get up straight away. So he's very flexible. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got decent power, but he's got very bad physicality and wrestling. Whereas on the other hand, Jordan Wright, yeah, he's pretty crap. He's pretty chinny, but he's quite big. He's big for the weight class. He is aggressive and he is physical. I find that people struggle to take him down. And then when they go for takedowns, he's very dangerous in the clinch, right? His knees, his tie knees are very dangerous. He unloads. He cut up Ike Villanueva. He went great ballistic against Bruno Silva and kind of wobbled Silva for a bit, but then got hurt in the same clinch right after that. He knocked out Jamie Pickett with the elbows. So that's what I'm concerned here. Obviously, you know, Dushko, I reckon the longer this goes, Dushko wins. Dushko is a clever fighter. I know some people don't think he is, but he's clever. You see against Puna, he was worried about that overhand and he was dodging everything for about 3 minutes. And, you know, when he needs to go for takedowns, he goes for takedowns ASAP. But he's just my eyes are telling me that when he goes for one of his crappy takedowns, he's putting his head for those Travis Brown elbows. And if he doesn't get that takedown, it's going to be sweaty. And I'm sweating it. And I'm sweating it that Dushko is going to be one of the guys to lose to Wright, which is super embarrassing, and he's going to be cut after that loss. But yeah, if it does go longer, I mean, you know, Wright hasn't proved to have any cardio whatsoever. He just gasses out. He doesn't know what to do. He just circles around and kicks from the distance. Dushko's probably going to stay on the outside a bit. So I don't know. I think the under doesn't have any value whatsoever now. I think Dushko can make it go a bit longer. I think he's durable. I think he should win because I think his only way to lose this fight is not even a head kick. It's just something crazy in the clinch. Like Travis Brown elbows fall to his back and then Wright go absolutely rabies and then get a ref to maybe stop it while, you know, Dushko's looking to get up. But even against Punahele, he wasn't out. He got dropped a million times. He got dropped and went straight for the ankles. I'm still pissed off about that stoppage by Herb Dean, the gold standard. I mean, if he doesn't stop the fight there, I think round 2, Puna's gassed. Dushko takes over. But yeah, this just should be his fight to win. But I can see that the market is a bit down on him. He's only minus 200. So the reason I put a couple of units on him is because I thought the line was going to get way more steam. Pardon me. Obviously, people rate Marc-Andre Barrios better than Dushko, which is Marc-Andre's crap, and he's getting his first submission ever against Wright. I feel like Dushko can win this fight any way he wants. The smart thing is probably stay on the outside for a bit, clinch him up. I think you can even knock him out against the clinch. The stuff that it did against on the Contender Series and the punches he unloaded against Townsend against the clinch, I think those punches knock out Wright, personally. You know, body, head. When he starts swarming him, Wright doesn't know. It's literally how Fluffy Hernandez knocked him out. So, I mean, Dushko's my pick, but my eyes just make me very scared from watching it. Just the way he comes into entries and how he puts his head in takedowns. His wrestling's bad. So I don't know. I think as much as it hurts me, a little sprinkle on Wright round 1 KO. I know we say it every single week. Might be the best value on this fight. But deep down, I feel like, he's probably not going to do it. Like, Dushko's very durable. So at the moment, it's a pass fight for me. I don't know. I don't have any props. Though under 1.5 is not tempting at these odds. So do you have anything you consider playing here?
Yeah, I agree. I hit the right KO one plus 800 when Bet Online opened the props just earlier. And yeah, I don't have much to add to the breakdown. I can't lay this juice on Dusko when he's still alive just to get absolutely lamped early on. Good point about the clinch knees, you know, especially because I think if you're relying on if Dusko to have success, you kind of want him to get in the clinch and try to grapple. But yeah, Wright's pretty good at finding that plum and just bombing the knees from there, which he should be able to do as like the taller guy. And Dusko does some things well, man, but fuck it. Anyone who gets to this level and they're still trying to fight with like that hands down, like the head movement he does, I can't consider it. That's just so stupid. Like, put your fucking hands up. Like, A1 basics, you know? So, no way I can lay the juice under again. Too juiced. I need it to be like a Pete Rodriguez, Mike Jackson level of mismatch to consider paying that price. Yeah, right. KO1, hopefully that comes through, but otherwise, if it gets out of the first round, you know, I'll probably be looking to live bet Dusko just because, yeah, Wright is a round one merchant historically. So yeah, that's it for me. Don't really have anything more to add. I think you pretty much hit it on the head.
Yep, and it does hurt me a bit because it's like, you know, it's one of those ones. All of Twitter is on Dusko, and let's be honest, would it surprise you if Dusko won a round 1 KO? No, because it's how Wright loses all his fights whenever he takes a step up. But it's just like, you know, we can't get greedy. We just, because shit happens in MMA. You know, Wright could knock out Dusko as much as he would break my balls. So
I'd love that. Fuck, I would love if Wright knocked him out. That'd be hilarious. That's got to be the best outcome.
No, would
absolutely disagree.
The reason I'm so nervous is because it'd be so fucking embarrassing. But Dusko is a good fighter, man. I need him to fucking get past this dude, and then they'll give him someone else again. It's either like RoboCop, Chitty, or Bums. So they're probably gonna give him some fucking, I don't know, absolute animal if he gets past. But yeah, let's move on. One more fight for me. I'll take the lead, and then I'll let you give me your best takes on the last two fights. Askarov, Brandon Royval. Personally, I think this is a dog or pass for me. I can understand why Askarov is the favorite. Decent wrestler, serviceable striking. He can switch from both stances. He's not a bad counter striker. He's patient, not bad power. You know, I've seen him honestly put out Elliott clean. He was doing all right, cracking Benavidez. You know, he didn't mind standing for a majority of the fight, even against Pantoja, mixed in a bit of striking. Pantoja diving for guillotines and stuff. Not a good way to go about it in that fight. On the other side, Brandon Royval, like really easy to take down, very hittable, gives his back a lot, which is what I really hate when you wanna back him as a big dog. He's a good scrambler and he's very active off the bottom. I mean, the only reason I think this is dog or pass, despite all of Royval's holes, etc., being, you know, hittable, giving up his back, getting submitted by Pantoja, is the fact that he's so active off his back and he's active when he's on the feet. So he's very active with his striking. He puts on the volume. A lot of people don't think he can win a decision here, but he literally won a decision against Bontorin like that, just having more volume. I think Bontorin has a lot worse cardio than Askarov, but is also more physical. Askarov also slows down when you put it on him a bit. We've seen it with Kara France. Kara France, a lot less volume. I just think I'll use this fight as to kill a bit of time. I just think that Askarov, yes, he can grapple, he can take Royval's back, he can maybe crack him a few times early, he can get a takedown whenever he wants. But if Royval just shows a smidge of better IQ, you know, just starts to get up a bit sooner rather than just continuing to play guard like he did in the Bontorin fight, he can look massive value here, right? Especially when Askarov gasses in round 3, because his volume and his striking is what the judges love. They love that shit. You know, it doesn't matter if you're just staying on top. And we've seen, you know, Askarov have a decision against Moreno, a grappling-based decision. He should have lost that. That should have been unanimous, right? So I don't know if he's going to submit Askarov. We've seen Pantoja get Askarov's back twice and just no concern whatsoever. Really good hand fighting. You know, he was in a deep guillotine, but I can't. $1.40 and the money keeps coming in on Askarov. I can't. He will gas if you push the pace, and Royval has a lot more volume. It's just a dog or pass for me here. So yeah, the bet. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to live bet it. So obviously I feel like Askarov wins round 1 on a pretty high clip. It's especially when he's fresh and he can counter good and get takedowns and stay out of danger early before Royval realizes that he needs to fight, because he always starts slow, does stupid shit early. And then, if it's maybe 1-1 or if there's a bit of a change in momentum, like in the Bontorin fight, I bet Royval at $6 after round 2 in the Bontorin fight, and I thought it was 1-1 going to the third. And then he submitted him. I don't care what anyone says. The Brazilian tap is still a tap. So yeah, live bet for Royval. It's an easy dog or pass. I want to see how round 1's going to go. But Askarov he might coast to a decision here, but it's going to be so sweaty. So sweaty. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I agree. Dog or pass. I took a shot on Royval plus 235. So got in early, got a decent line there. I can understand people waiting to live bet, but for me, when I saw that line, I was just like, that's way too wide, so I had to hit it. I think I don't mind playing him pre, because I think Royval wins round 3, assuming it gets there, at a much higher clip than Askarov wins round 1. Like, Askarov should win round 1. Like, he should definitely be the favorite to win round 1. But Royval's just chaos, man. Like, and if he can create one of those fights where he's just scrambling out of positions and, the one doing damage, and Askarov's just got bad optics, trying to cross sniff and hold him down. We see the judges are just trending so much more towards damage these days, even if it is from inferior positions, that I think Royval can win, rounds, even if he's on his back. Just that last fight from Askarov against Kai was just such a bad look. Cardio just looked terrible. Everything looked terrible. Striking, rest, just everything looked really, really bad. And I think Royval a bit unlucky versus Pantoja. I feel like Pantoja was pretty cooked at that point where he found the finish. I think if Royval had managed to escape the back there, and the fight had continued, I don't think Pantoja had much left in the tank at that point, to be honest. I live bet Royval after round 1. But I got a bit of variance there. Obviously, the risk is always there when you're so happy to give your back and put yourself in bad positions, as Royval does. But man, like the pace he forces is just really hard for a guy like Askarov to deal with. I think he's not as slick with the subs as Pantoja. He's not as good a striker as Pantoja. Arguably, maybe he's got better takedowns, better wrestler. But yeah. Clear dog or pass spot to me. I'm fine with betting a pre-fight. Understand if you want to bet it live. No interest in the total, just because at a pick'em, I just don't see any value, because going over is probably Askarov blanketing a win, and going under is Royval forcing a chaotic shit show where he is live to finish or even get finished by putting himself in bad positions. So I think Royval, the dog, is the way to play this, whether it's pre-fight or live.
Very nice, very nice. We're on the same page. Who knows? I might even have a pre-bet if this line keeps getting crazier. It's the only fight where odds are changing drastically. Everything else has pretty much stayed for the past 2 weeks, which tells you just how accurate the odds are. But yeah, we agree essentially. Co-main and main, and then we're done. Martinez versus Cub Swanson. Swanson dropping down to bantamweight, I'm pretty sure for the first time in his career. Bit of a contrast of styles. Martinez, nice and clean and technical. Swanson completely opposite, switching stances, unorthodox strikes, a lot more power. I'll let you take this one away, mate. You got a read on here?
Oh, yes and no, right? I think the big question around this one is just the weight cut for Cub. It's pretty confusing to see him dropping down to bantamweight at this point in his career. He's 38 years old or whatever it is. Maybe you can chuck that one up on the screen so you can make sure if I'm right. But yeah, pretty much just about everything hinges on that, especially now he's out to plus 180s, and that's just insane to me. You're making Cub around 35% in what should just be a striking fight, where Cub is the one with the grappling upside. If anyone's going to be hitting takedowns here, I think it's going to be Cub. Martinez, he's a perfectly fine, mid-level bantamweight, he pumps out, okay volume, but he's pretty, rote. He's just looking for the left hand and the left body kick. Doesn't do too much that's, particularly special, and has fought, a not very good level of competition, and has kind of stumbled when he has come up against guys who are a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, like if this was happening at featherweight, I'd be all over Cub at like plus 180 at this price. Just because I think his willingness to come forward, pressure, put volume on, like I think he's got a bit of grappling upside if he wants it. Martinez, I don't like his defense. I think he's a bit chinny. Yeah, he's just a bit of a flake, to be honest. I just don't like the way he acts when he doesn't get his preferred fight. So yeah, for me, I'm just going to wait and see the weigh-ins. If Cub looks fine, I think my hand will kind of be forced at like a plus 180 price tag, just because, yeah, you know, maybe he's shot, but if he looks fine at the weigh-ins and the cut doesn't seem to have taken too much out of him, then yeah, I just got to roll the dice on Cub at like a plus 180 because that's just insanity to me. I don't see Martinez covering, you know, north of minus 200 in a striking fight where he may get grappled. So again, very, very clear doggle pass, but unfortunately there are some like pretty concerning red flags and question marks around the dog. Hopefully weigh-ins gives us a bit of reassurance. But yeah, what do you reckon?
Oh yeah, I agree essentially, man. I agree essentially. Just there's a few things that, you know, this big step up for Jonathan Martinez. I mean, even at 38 years of age for Cub Swanson, this is the best fighter other than, I mean, you could make an argument that David Grant is better, maybe, who knows, but it's like, you know, he's not going to roll over from calf kicks like, you know, Vince Morales, who's easily shut down. I mean, he's been a massive favorite against all these low-level fighters for some reason, other than Zviad Lazishvili, and then obviously we made the bookies pay for that mistake. He opened up as a massive dog there. He's taken a big step up. Like you said, he's chinny. Taping this fight for the third time, Lazishvili, he even got dropped there too. Obviously, everyone talking about he got dropped by Perez, he got dropped by Lazishvili, got knocked out by Grant. Obviously, didn't get touched by Almeida, but Almeida flaky. You know, Kabi's not gonna just, you know, he's not gonna flake out in there. You might hurt him with leg kicks. I see people saying Pineda hurt him. Dude, Pineda's leg kicks are a lot more harder than Martinez's. Martinez, yes, he will calf kick you, but the only guy that really reacted bad to them was Morales. And Morales is known to be an absolute flake to leg kicks. You can shut the guy down. You know, Gutierrez beat him with the leg kick knockout. It's just, it's a different level. You might hurt Cub, you know, with a body shot, you know, LA Giga. But I also think the move is not bad for him. I think he's from the era of the undersized guys, you know, like Aldo and Edgar, and I don't think any of those guys look bad dropping down. Obviously, Edgar dropped down real late in his career, and then he ended up, you know, having Sandhagen and you know, Chito Vera, and I mean, half a round or a little bit longer away from beating Chito Vera in a 3-rounder. So I think he should have always been a bantamweight. You look at his fights against Shane Burgos, Moicano, even against Pineda, he looks massive. Tiny. He looks tiny. He looks like he should be a weight class under, and he's holding his own. And I think he even said in the Elkins fight after he won, he said, "Look, I might actually drop down to bantamweight." He goes, "I'm really light for this fight camp." So it's nothing. It's not something out of left of field. You see it a lot with these older guys. You know, I think there might be a change of diet. Even Aldo said, "Oh, all of a sudden I've changed my diet and I can make it easier. So why not try?" I don't think it's like a lot of people say it's a desperate move. I don't think it's a desperate move. You know, he just won a fight against Elkins and he destroyed him. And it wasn't like, oh, things are not going my way. He feels light. He feels fast. And I mean, like you said, it's just the line is crazy on Martinez, and it's always crazy against these low-level guys. And now he's getting a crazy line against Cub Swanson, and it's going to be a striking fight. Even if you don't cap in the grappling, I know you think Swanson's got a grappling upside, and he probably does, but I don't think he's going to use it personally. He's just going to go for a couple of takedowns here and there. But Martinez seems to be okay at stopping him. He's fought a lot of people that try to take him down. It's more so the technical steady volume from Martinez, and he's constantly going to be kicking Cub. But the weakness that Martinez has is to big overhands, and every single person that got him, that's literally Cub's main game. He might be out there doing nothing, you know, just ducking and weaving, but you know there's a 1-2 switch stance coming to the head. And now at bantamweight, these guys are pretty sure similar size. What do we got? 5'8" versus 5'8". There you go. 70 and 69 reach. So now Cub is going to be at a proper size, right? So striking bout, he might get hurt with leg kicks, he might get hurt with a knee, but yeah, he's going to be there. And if he drops Martinez once or twice, he might knock him out, because I think he's also the hardest hitter that Martinez has fought since David Grant. So it's just you can't play this guy at minus 200. I know I said the previous Askarov was the one that's getting the most juice. Now some money seems to be coming in on Martinez, and I don't know. People are very confident. I don't know how you could be confident. I could play him, and I would just be my butt will be puckered up the whole time, waiting for Swanson to knock him out for 3 rounds, because it's coming. He's dangerous for 3 rounds. So dog or pass for me as well. I'm inclined to think that the drop is good for him, but it's speculation, right? It's speculation. A bit of a cop-out saying let's wait till weigh-ins, but it might be the smartest thing to do. And if you look good at weigh-ins, then sometimes weigh-ins don't do anything for me. I might just play him anyway. Or I might not. I don't know. He's 38 years old after all. So dog or pass, we agree on it. Who knows? If the line keeps getting out of hand, I might just have to play it. And main event, Alexa Grasso V Araujo. Female 5-rounder main event, but it could have been a lot worse. Decent fight at least. Both fighters having their first 5-round fight in the UFC. I personally don't agree with these odds. What are your takes?
Yeah, I think it's a bit wide. I do think Grasso deserves to be the favourite because Vivi's looked pretty ropey in the 3rd round of a lot of her fights, and this is her first time going 5. So, you kind of have to give Grasso the edge to win the 4th and 5th rounds, which kind of makes her an automatic favourite in a women's fight. But Vivi should compete fine, right? Like early on, she can strike, right? She's got nice, clean striking, powerful striking. She's got kind of a bit of an advantage in that she can throw a bit more variety with the kicking game. She's probably a bit more of a hoss when she's fresh. She'll be a bit stronger, so she's probably going to be the one with the takedown upside early on, at least. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this plays out very close or Vivi even wins the early rounds. So for me, the line is a bit wide. I think betting Vivi pre-fight is totally fine because there's a really good chance that you're going to be able to just get the free roll live and flip to Grasso if it looks like Vivi's starting to slow down, which I kind of expect she will, unless she's able to just completely top time Grasso, which I don't really see happening. She's a bit lucky in her last fight. Lee kind of just gassed out harder than Vivi did. Grasso, we've never really seen her gas out the way Vivi does, so I don't see her sort of having too many KO issues here in the 5-rounder. But skills-wise, it should be super competitive early on, and Vivi's got the one with the grappling upside, which is kind of what you like in women's MMA. So, I think she's the clear pre-fight side. Money just seems to be steadily coming in on Grasso, so I'm happy to wait for now and see how wide it gets. Pretty clear dog or pass for me pre-fight, and then should hopefully be able to get out live if it goes a bit pear-shaped and guarantee some profit. In terms of the total, maybe the under's a little bit wide, but again, maybe it's not. They're women, they're both tough. Neither have shown real issues with being fragile or easy to finish. The only real thing is Vivi's cardio. That might give you a concern around a finishing threat. So no interest in the total. Just go with Vivi and then ride it if it looks good. Try to bail if it doesn't. Pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is the odds are the classic case of overrating a cardio in a 5-round fight. We've seen it constantly this year. I know I keep banging on about it every single time. We've seen it with Aldo against Font. We've seen it against Vieira against Holly Holm. Norma Dumont against Aspen Ladd. Everyone's like, I want to play the dog, but it's a 5-rounder. And turned out it didn't mean crap. If Viviani comes out there and paces herself, because she's in the 5-round fight and, wins rounds 1 and 2 and doesn't exert much energy, wins round 3 somehow, or if she does what she did to Lee and just wrestles her, maybe Grasso gets tired from constant wrestling. That's all it is. If this is a 3-round fight, what would you cap this if this was a 3-round fight?
3-round fight, wow. Lee couldn't go past -150 for Grasso. Again, you'd probably still give her that edge just because Vivi's round 3s have historically been pretty ugly. But yeah, definitely couldn't go past -150. Like if I had to, pre-fight, I would probably make the line a pick 'em.
Same. It's picking for me,
Yeah.
dude. Right. So Viviani, man, there's a massive advantage in strength of schedule here, right? So right, Grasso is coming off wins of Kim, Barber, and Joanne Calderwood. Yes, Joanne Calderwood's her best win, but it means nothing. Like submitting her, that was one of my favorite bets. I bet her by submission at $13 there, and it means nothing, right? It's her first submission win, and if you're gonna get it against anyone, it'll be Joanne Calderwood. Like she loves flaking out and getting submitted. But yeah, just she's not finishing any of these other girls. The Kim fight was somewhat close. She lost round 3 to Barber. The Wood fight, if she doesn't get a submission, ends up being very close, right? Her best opponent was probably Carla Esparza. She showed some bad IQ in that fight. I think that's still part of her game, the bad IQ. And she obviously kicked the crap out of a washed Carolina 3 years ago. It's just, you see Viviani. Viviani's fighting Kaylin Chukagian, who's the consensus number 2 in that division. A lot of people thought she won, and I taped it for the millionth time, and I still think she probably won that fight, even while gassed. And with Chukagian's constant 1-2 volume, she does very well to win rounds. Viviani was countering her. She works the body. Her boxing is very good. She took the piss out of her in round 1. Worked the body, head movement in and out. She's got a lot more power. She's a lot more physical. If she wants to, she can wrestle. She's a lot more explosive. Her jiu-jitsu is way better. I know Grasso had some advantages with, going for an armbar against Barber and taking her back and, almost submitting Esparza, but that's all off the back stuff. And if she gets stuck on the bottom trying to look for submissions off her back against the high-level black belt like Araujo, that's perfect, Let Araujo just pass the guard and mount her and, consolidate a consolidated round without using any energy. So there's so many advantages here. Like, the only advantage I can give to Grasso is maybe her speed, more technical boxing. She's very fast in the pocket, but she's not unhittable. You can still hit her in the pocket, but she's got that Mexican chin. She's pretty durable. But early, when Araujo is fresh and she's in and out and she's a bit more patient, yes, but I can still see her getting dropped and you may be losing round 1 and then you don't get that live bet just because, Viviani does come in with her hands low, and that's how Lee cracked her. But yeah, she's very durable. She's got the wrestling upside. If you're going to play Grasso, I don't know what people are doing steaming this line past minus 200. Is just play it by decision or something. Play it by round 4 or 5 or decision. Just sprinkle it. Like, there's no way I see Grasso finishing Araujo early. Like, if Lee, I actually think Lee hits harder as well. If Lee cracked her with a nice check hook and she came in with her hands down and then ate a clean head kick and she still wrestled her. Like, I don't see how Grasso is going to finish him when she couldn't finish some of the low-level fighters she's fought. So I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I'm going to have to do it as well. I actually bet it, but then I cashed out because I realized where the line was going. I was like, I'm going to wait. I'll bet it a little bit later. And money's still coming in on her. I just think it's a bit of a, I don't know, trying to think of a nice word to say by betting Grasso pre-bet at this line. Like, it's just a bit of a naive bet. Araujo's going to slow down late. Easy money on Grasso. What if Grasso loses the first 3 rounds? I know Araujo loses 1 round at a pretty high clip when she gets tired, like a pretty high clip. But what if she doesn't? What if she doesn't? Like, and then just live bet it. Live bet Grasso later. If Grasso wins the first 2 rounds, and I'm going to look like an idiot, and all the juice boys are going to be like, you idiot! I told you there was value on Grasso. Whatever. It's not how MMA works. It's more often than not, those bets are going to lose. Like when people are hammering Holly Holm at minus 200, putting 5 units on her against Vieira because she's got much better output and cardio. So yeah, I'll be there with you. I wasn't sure if you said you were definitely going to play Araujo, but I'll definitely put half a unit on her, and then maybe a little tiny sprinkle on Grasso 4 or 5 decisions just to hedge myself if I don't have the live, and then I'll look to add more live and just cover myself there. But Grasso hasn't proven herself, man. Beating Barber 29-28, beating Kim, and submitting Wood, that's nothing. This is not the new coming of Grasso. It's just people are getting a bit carried away. I think Viviana's a top 5 in the decision. Everyone she's fought, Chukagian, Roxy, Davis, Andrea Lee, whereas Grasso hasn't fought anyone like that other than Esparza at strawweight. So easy dogger pass for me, man. And I would love to play that under because it's tempting me. It's so juiced. Maybe Araujo gets finished in 4 or 5 because if Grasso comes out there and pushes the pace, But you can even live bet that. You can live bet by finish when you see how tired they are. So that's me at the moment. We're on the same page. Dog or pass. We'll just look to exit live. Cool. Usually best bets. I assume you're not going to do your best bet because of your elbow bet situation.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I just can't give one because it defeats the whole purpose of the platform. But
Fine.
I think I was fairly clear in going through which ones I like. I'll give a rundown of the stuff I like. I don't want to,
Yeah, you can do that. You can
be
a
complete badass.
You can be bland. You don't have to. I was just checking. You don't have to say anything, man. It's all good.
No, I'm happy to just run through them. Right, obviously, I just can't say which one is going to be the one on elbow bets. I like the Hughes money line, and then I'm assuming I'll like there'll be decision props out there that I like in round 3 decision type stuff. We'll go current lines, obviously, because I've got some bets where those lines aren't available anymore. I like Maximov money line. I think Vergara money line is value, but wait and see what happens with a bit of line movement. Because I can see Taira's at like minus 212 now on Bet Online, and I have a feeling that gets bet. I know you don't think so. I think you're giving the market probably more credit than I do. I think I agree he's value here, but I still think people are going to bet Taira. Thanks, Chad. What else is hanging around at current lines that I still like? The Mana and Brandon Davis over. Wait till I bet Cirkunov. Wright KO1. Royval is sitting around at plus 200, even plus 210 some places, which is fine. But if you want to wait till I bet, cool. Cub plus 182 is that's going to be a bet, assuming he doesn't look like death at weigh-ins. And then Vivi plus 190 pre-fight, like all of those. No, nothing there that I'm like, gonna put the farm on. But quite a few spots where I think there's a decent bit of value to be had.
Yeah, nice. I will give my best bet just because, whatever, I'm not locked into anything. Hughes, I mean, I don't even have a unit on it, but that just feels like the only bet that I'm kind of, I taped it. I'm like, yeah, this is value. So I hit it. Hughes is going to be my number 1. And then CJ, I mean, I'm going off what I have right now, so I don't want to be looking for one right now. But what I've actually bet, it's Dushka, which I don't know how much of that I'm going to keep just for the sake of my profits. And I got the Jackson under 1.5 at minus 200. Again, it's not screaming. If I had a chance to add more than a quarter 0.6 of a unit, I don't know if I would. So that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, CJ. I've had CJ. It was my first bet at $3.25. I'm not going to cash it out. I'm going to leave it. So that's gonna be my second bet. So
that's a good line. Really good line.
How wrong can you be? I mean, deep down, I feel like he won't get submitted. Deep down, I feel like he might just get backpacked. But if he gets backpacked, he's getting up and he's putting the pressure on in round 2 and 3, So then, as long as he doesn't get submitted, it reminds me of the Wooding Martignoni bet last week. I was like, do I want to lose 500 to Martignoni if Wooding knocks him out? But I was like, you know what? If he doesn't knock him out, I win the bet. And he didn't. He survived round 2, and then he ended up looking massive value. So, kind of feel the same can happen. You just have to be brave and just suck it up. And, you get submitted. But if he doesn't, you got a good bet on your hands. And I kind of had some good feelings, man, after we broke some of these fights down. I'm kind of feeling like maybe you want to play Royval pre-bet now. It's just had some little butterflies in my stomach thinking about how the fight's going to go.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cards where you can kind of just make like a fair few bets on the dogs. Like, probably going to be like smaller bets, But I think if you bet, the dogs you like on this card, there's pretty good chance you're going to come out with reasonable profit.
Yep. And Cirkunov as well.
As long as you size it sensibly, of course.
Cirkunov as well, after talking to you about it, it's just like, why not just bet him? And then if he goes over 1.5, I know I said I don't know how he wins, but Menifield's just going to hold him up against the cage and just give him a chance to take him down. And, you can just hedge maybe Menifield round 1. And
Yeah, I don't even think Menifield, man, like, fuck, like, he didn't finish Ed Herman.
You just don't know how he's going to fight. You don't know how he's going to
Yeah.
fight. That's the problem.
Fabio Charant was the Von Flu. And then apart from that, his finishes are friggin' Vinicius Moreira and 2019 Paul Craig. So,
and he came out hard against the fraud Ukrainian, but he supposedly hated him. So just, if he hates someone, he's going to come out there. If he's scared to lose, he's going to come out like against him. And you just don't know. You don't.
He's such an idiot, man. Like, I was on him against Mozarov, and yeah, I was sweating. I was getting ready for him to fuck that up. And then the post-fight interview, just the way he talks, he's a very minus IQ guy. Like, when God made Menifield, he put all the, all the stats and all the attributes into like the physical categories. He kind of skimped over the mental ones, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that was a bad look, man. Like, he was so. He almost seemed like he initiated that Morozov was racist or something. I was like, dude, I think you're a bit off there. He was so personally upset at the guy. I was like, yeah, this guy's cooked. But yeah, that's my best bet, man. Hughes, CJ at the moment, but because we went so early, I don't even have my props on Bet365. I got some good feelings, man. I like some of these dogs. I got a bit of bravery in me by the end of this podcast. So looks like. Stay tuned when I'll be posting that on Twitter. So we're gonna have some good bets. And obviously, did you want to plug anything before you go?
No, you talked about Albo bets at the start. You pretty much said what it was. If you sign up, you get I think it's 8 of us now. And there's 4 guys doing it for free, so you obviously don't have to pay to get access to that. We give our best bet every week. And it's a list of guys who Showbox put together, and Scott knows his stuff. He's made sure that everyone's kind of like third-party track, profitable for multiple years. No shady business going on. Even though there's been some hilarious comments, taking shots in the comment of that thread. But so if you want to get involved, you can use Steve's affiliate code that he gave out, which is scrolling along the bottom very professionally here, or I've got my own, which is just Scrap, CASCRAP. Should probably know how to spell my own handle. So if you're keen to get involved, use either of those codes to get yourself a discount. If you've got any questions, feel free to hit me up and I'll try to answer any questions best I can. But that's it otherwise.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Let me address this comment. Dushko Stupid, kill the boys. Keen for next week's huge card. I might be taping early. I'm a bit ahead now thanks to this week. So I don't know. It depends on Scrap. I would like to do it with him. If he can do it early, we'll do it. If not, I'll just wait for him. Because pay-per-view, our best viewed card was over 500 views, was the last pay-per-view. So I'll bring you back on, mate, if you can. That should be fun. And people don't know who Dushko is, but he's actually better than Dushko in the UFC. Just keep an eye on him. I know his profile pic looks very squiddy, but he's from Australia. He'll make it to bare knuckle at least. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, it sounds good. I'll definitely be keen to come on next week. That's the card of the year, basically. So, definitely looking forward to that. And there's quite a bit, I'm into the tape for that one already, and I've made a few bets already. And one of the best cards from a spectator point of view, but a pretty solid one from a betting point of view as well, I think.
Very nice, man. Well, I haven't taped shit, so at least I know you won't be holding me back because you're already way ahead of me. So I'll get to it. I will be doing some KSW LFA. I'll do a little thing to see what people want, which one they want more, or which podcast, and then I'll go from there. But thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you, mate, for coming on, and good luck on your bets.
Sweet. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.